Boeing 737 Max, normal engine start from a cold cockpit. We'll just go through the procedure and the differences between the Max and the new gen. So first thing with the Max is to put a battery switch on. You wait until this screen has come alive, otherwise you can get some nuisance status messages. Like that. First we'll do a quick fire test and loop test on the P8 panel. So you'll notice the cutout levers are different on the Max. So once we've done the fire test, APU to on, wait for the door to open, which is indicated by the light, low oil pressure light. Put the aft fuel pump on, and once the APU is available, put the generator on to get AC power. We don't have the GPU connected. So on the P5 panel, put the hydraulic pumps A and B to on. Make sure the low pressure lights go off. Put the packs to off. The bleed air isolation valve should be in auto. The wing and engine anti-ice is off. And engine bleeds on. Make sure the EEC switches are on. And put both fuel pumps to on. Make sure you've got enough fuel. If it's important, make note of the ignition, left, right, or both. So, engine start to ground, push and hold. So you will get on the Max display system start valve open, and then indications for N2 and N1. You should see a positive increase in pneumatics from the APU pressure. So when the engine is at 25% N2 and the monitoring is no longer displayed, on the N2 dial, move the start lever, switch to idle. So something new on this is the motoring flag is displayed when the engine requires bowed rotor motoring sequence to cool it down. Max motoring should be no less than 20% N2. So we have to now monitor EGT and N2. So normally the engine should start in 15 seconds after the start lever switch is moved to the idle position. To become fully stable, it's 120 seconds. If the engine doesn't start in 15 seconds, the EEC will automatically turn the fuel off and ignition off. And if that's the case, then you just motor the engine for 60 seconds to remove the fuel. So we're monitoring EGT, fuel flow, N1, N2, and engine oil. And the acceleration should not slow or stop before the idle speed. We use the rule as long as you can count the digits it's looking good. If it starts to become blurred or slow down, something's not right. So make sure the starter disengages at or before 63% N2. And the start switch should move from ground to the off position automatically. If it doesn't, then you have to do it manually. Now there is a delay on the Max. It's a software delay. It's not the actual valve being slow. So what the display is saying is not completely real time. So the engine becomes stable when the start limit red line is no longer shown on the EGT. The normal parameters on a standard day is N1's 21%, N2's 71%, and EGT should be 485. Fuel flow is 286. Make sure the oil pressure is stable and greater than 17 psi. During cold weather, the oil pressure can go above the normal operation limits for a short time due to the oil viscosity, the oil being thick. Make sure master caution light did not come on during the engine start, and the generator drives light goes out. Once we're stable, put the APU bleed switch to off and let the engine run idle for 5 minutes before or if you were going to accelerate the engine. So put the pack switches to off. So put the APU bleed air on. Put the APU generator on. Probe heats to auto. And select the cut-off switch to cut off. Look for indications of fire after the engine stops, so you might get a slight EGT increase. That's just because the rotors have stopped turning. So if we did have a tail fire now, then we've got an air supply from the APU to dry motor and try and blow out the fire. It's not an external fire, it's a fire in the exhaust cone. And lastly, anti-cold light off, hydraulics off. APU bleed off. And fuel pumps off. So that's the basic normal start and shutdown. It might seem like there's a lot to do, but once you've done it a few times, it's quite easy. So this was the procedure when from the outside. I apologise for the quality. I don't know what my colleague was doing. It's like a phone from 20 years ago. But anyway, so you'll notice the smoke is quite normal. It's just oil being burnt. And the oil consumption is mainly when the engine starts and shuts down.